Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. Today we have a very strange, half-baked idea that could be a little bit hard for people to follow. It looks relatively simple, right? The question is, how can I help? But even the question itself, how can I help? It's a little bit strange because what does it mean to help? You think that this presentation is about these 9 quadrants. Yeah, I'm going to talk about these 9 quadrants and how to get through them. Very, very simply, the idea is that we begin with the top left-hand corner. In fact, the top left-hand corner, the middle left, and the bottom left are all 3 activities that we have to do in order to make progress. And your role as a coach is, in general, to help people to do these 3 things. Whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, whether you're a psychologist, whether you are a manager, no matter what you're doing, if your job is to help other people, which I think is the purpose of most productive endeavors, most businesses produce products that help people, then you're going to be doing one of these 3 things, and likely you're going to be doing all 3 things. We start with pinpoint a problem. Probably the best thing that you can do to help somebody after they have pinpointed a problem is to help them understand where that problem fits within a system, because every problem is part of a system. For example, if you focus in on a spider's web and you see that there is a problem, you have a hole in the spider's web. Well, the thing is that the hole in the spider's web, it's a piece of the entire web. And there's so many other aspects of and reasons why there is this hole in the web. Once you have a problem pinpointed and you're able to see it within the construct of a system, other problems, other opportunities, other things, then you're going to run tests in order to both understand the problem better and also to understand the system where the problem lies. Those 3 boxes becomes one box, right? Because observing you have a problem, realizing you have a problem, running tests to make sure you understand the problem is just the beginning, because eventually you're going to want to make some kind of change. This is called a desired result. When you begin coaching somebody, you can ask them, how can I help? And they might want to talk about their problem. And the more that they talk about the problem, the more they will be able to understand where their problem exists within a system of problems. And then you can begin asking them questions. Also, you can ask them to try out different types of activities to see if that is truly the problem. And then eventually you're going to get to some kind of desired result. What is the result that you want to achieve? How would you like to affect the problem? In most cases, for example, if we look at me and my ability to play the piano, I started playing the piano as a child. I took 8 years of lessons, and I noticed that there were certain thresholds. I had a certain weakness when it came to both the process of practicing the piano and also my ability to quickly achieve some kind of level of performance. I had some weakness. And I think that the natural ability that everybody has to engage in an activity and also the natural ability people have in order to improve their effort in the acquisition of skill is different for every single person. It seems as though when I was a child, I had very little ability to force myself to practice the piano. At some point after I was able to play a couple of church hymns that were like the easiest ones, I could see that there were hymns that were harder. And I was never able to, improve, if we look at the 3rd box, improve knowledge and skill. I was never able to improve the knowledge and skill. Why? Well, that takes us down to the 3rd, because I never actually created a plan. For example, one plan might be every week I go to church. In the church, there is a piano. I practice the piano for 30 minutes. So it's 30 minutes of practice per week. At the end of 30 minutes per week, at the end of a month, at the end of 6 months, at the end of a year, you accumulate those practice periods, and then you minus some amount of regression when you aren't practicing. For example, the other 7 days minus 30 minutes, and you will have the development of a skill. In any case, you have something called incremental improvement. Now that we know that we're trying to make incremental improvement, and that our plan is going to lead us to that incremental improvement, then we should probably understand those weaknesses and thresholds, and then try to understand how can we influence those weaknesses and thresholds. And that is going to be like pinpointing a problem. And likely your behavior in one area is also similar to your behavior in other areas. So your problem is going to be within some kind of system. And then you start to run tests. The question is, what's the difference between running tests and deploying hacks? This is the basic, half-baked idea. Now let's go a little bit in a different direction. What is life? What is life? Life is a very strange thing because I think that life is the organization of intellect and matter. I mean, how else can you explain me? I'm a human being and I have intellect. I have something called consciousness. I have something that enables me to make my matter move. There is some kind of connection between the intellect and matter. I think that to some extent is life. Okay, but what about like very simple single cell organisms? Because from our understanding of human existence, it all started with what? Some kind of big bang, and well, okay, whatever. It just means that we started at some point, whether it was a bang, whether the universe is expanding, or like how we explain this phenomenon. I don't know how important that is, and how we explain how did that first life start, because it seems as though the first cell didn't have intellect. Underneath this, we have something called will, we have a process, we have result. And so rather than using the word intellect or will, then we just replace the word will with force. Because force is something much easier to understand. It means, for example, gravity. We understand something about gravity. We understand that it's pushing things together, it's pulling things apart. And then there's some kind of process, which is a medium. The physical world, that is a medium. And the forces which push things together and pull things apart, that is a medium. And the result is change. These are the elements of our understanding of life. We know that there's something called organization, whether there is some kind of will or simply force behind the organization, I don't know. And there is some kind of process. If there wasn't a process, then we wouldn't have a change. What is God? Okay, so I think that this is such a crazy question because everyone believes in some amount of evolution. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody can see that there is evidence of evolution. We can simply say that there was something like a single cell, or maybe you don't want to use the word single cell because you said that God created everything. Okay, fine. So at some point there was some kind of organization of cells, and then there's an evolution of those cells. So there was some kind of change. And this is why I think it's ridiculous for people to say that there is no God. Just because you don't believe that there's God doesn't mean that there isn't God. Just because you can't see God, it doesn't mean that there isn't God. But more importantly, you believe in evolution. How can you prove that from single cell to now, this is evolution? So how could you say that there is no God? Because how can you say that now to some future evolved form doesn't exist? That's just absolutely crazy. Everything denotes that there is a God because we have evolution. Meaning that you think that in the universe that we are the only intelligent form of life and that the restriction placed on our behaviors and thoughts are the final restrictions, that we cannot evolve past where we are to some form which is equal to our understanding of God. Meaning you don't believe that man will ever become something which can create a big bang. I don't know, it seems kind of limited. An act of creation. Simply speaking, we have a form of matter and then we have another form of matter. Whether we're talking about God or whether we're talking about the production of God, or if we're talking about the production of things by the hand of God, it's all the same thing. We have one form of matter and then we have another form of matter. Things are coming together, things are pulling apart. To change means to organize. You can't prove that there is no change. You can't prove that there is no change of forms of matter. Therefore, there is something called creation. There is something called organize. If you're a science person, you're just saying, well, okay, so organize, it's just a process of force. And if you are a religionist, then you say, okay, but this force is based on something called will. All right, sure, great, wonderful. If we come back down to reality, then the question is, why is it that I was originally attracted to Tom's book? The book Create Crucial Insight. Why is it? What is the first thing that I told him? I said to Tom, here's Tom. I said to Tom, I have a problem. You see, it's hard for me to get myself to do the things that I know I need to do. And it's also difficult for me to do the things which I want to do. We have this question, it's called, what do you want? You have vision and then you organize. Another word for vision is purpose. Purpose, it means what do you desire and also what is possible. But just because you want it doesn't mean you'll actually take the steps in order to organize it. I finally found the space between ideas. I got this idea, space between ideas, because Tom is ideas. But I always felt like there was this space between ideas because somehow I was unable to persuade myself to make progress. I looked into his book, I went deep into his book, and I saw this thing, okay, vision. So vision, purposes, okay, so we got desires, we have something that's possible, we're working towards some kind of end. The basic idea behind Tom's work is the concept of endeavor elements. What are endeavor elements? What does it mean to organize? The idea to organize means we're working on some type of potential. There's an opportunity for something to change. When we see the opportunity to change, when we create the vision, then we have to create some kind of plan. And then after we have the plan, we take action. 2 issues, maybe even 3. Number 1 is the opportunity to be able to see and react to the concept of developing potential. Number 2 is the desire or ability to, after developing some kind of vision, understanding what you want, and then actually going out and figuring out how to put together a plan. Third, it's the space between having a plan and then taking action. First, we have a vision, and then we have to organize. And the vision is based on what do you desire and also what is possible. And then you start to what? You start to organize a plan, and then you take action. Unfortunately, we still haven't reached the problem of persuasion because we're talking about making a decision. A decision has to be informed, and a decision has to be carried out. What is the decision? The decision, like I just said, the decision is, number 1, to see potential and then to create a vision. Number 2 is to inform yourself with potential opportunities and then create a plan. And then finally is the decision to actually carry it out. And we usually put that all in a process. So vision does not actually equal result because between the vision and the result, we have this thing called a decision. We have to decide to make processes, and then we have to decide to carry them out. There's something that is hiding. This is the space between ideas. I believe that persuasion is a choice. I remember years ago, there was this guy that was telling everyone to be proactive. And well, wait a minute. This is creation, procreation, creation. It's just creation. And proactive or active, it's just active. Is it so hard to believe that we created religion just to have some kind of ideal? To say that in general, this is how we understand our life on earth. And then God is just simply what? Perfect form of the family, building a house, having children, creating food, creating resources. Once we get down to the vision of what religion actually tells us, we have a problem. In order to be active, I choose faith. I believe that persuasion, to persuade yourself to believe, it's actually a choice. Faith is a choice. The first thing that you have to do is to choose. You say, okay, so here are all the different faiths. Here are all the different constructs of faith. Here are all the stories behind faith. And now I choose. I choose up and to the right. I choose to make progress. That's the space. Here's the space between ideas. Okay, I woke up and I'm just like not feeling like being consistent, right? Like that's really the only opportunity we have on earth is to use your time consistently. That's the only opportunity that's available. Use your time consistently. Or don't use your time consistently. In either case, you're going to get some kind of result. And what's the difference? I think that positivity is also a choice. Of course, to some extent, there are going to be physical bodies which are so broken or that don't have enough energy or aren't organized correctly, and that no matter what you do, they don't work. But I think for the majority of people, there is an opportunity to develop skills and perhaps to have access to resources that enable positivity to be easier. but I think it's still a choice. And I think choosing to be positive is one way to better use your time consistently. So we have vision, and then we add some kind of activity, and then we get results. Now, what's the issue? Where is the faith? Where is the positivity? I think it's here. So even the word positive, it means plus. So let's talk about this little plus button right here. What is between vision and activity? I think that this plus is the faith and positivity. Whether it's you who is supporting oneself, or whether it is you who is supporting another person. I remember there's a statement in the New Testament that Christ said, "When you are converted, then strengthen your brethren." What does it mean to be converted? To be converted, it means that you have the feeling, you have the understanding, you have the experience to be able to choose faith. Once you have chosen faith, then to put into your life activities so that you can stay positive and receive the emotional support in order to stay strong. All right, so now we're back to this idea of how can I help? The role of a coach is to provide support. When you look at this thing, it actually looks like we're talking about something which is highly practical. Pinpoint a problem. Where does the problem fit within the system? Let's run some tests. What do you want to do? What is the desired result? What's holding you back? All right, well, we need to improve your knowledge and skills. Let's create a plan. And then what? We expect some kind of incremental improvement. And then let's deploy those hacks. That's overly practical. We're actually talking about what are the practical steps that you have to take in order to improve. But the key really is about faith and positivity, providing emotional support and being a source of strength. That's what it means to be a coach. It means to get strong and then help other people to be strong too. Thanks for joining me with another half-baked idea. This has been Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates.